Mula Viraka, good evening and namaste. You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan, and tonight we are talking about a very important issue that may have touched you already, or you definitely would know that someone is affected by it. And the issue is stroke. Stroke is a reality that is happening in a number of families. It's happening faster. Younger people are getting affected by it. Families are definitely getting affected by it. Tonight in studio with us is the president of Counterstroke Fiji, Elizabeth Fong. Elizabeth, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
My pleasure, Vijay.
Now, people would be saying, how bad is this really? And we'll definitely talk about how bad this has become in Fiji. But what's your motivation in becoming part of Counterstroke Fiji? You and your sister are both part of the organization. What's your motivation behind it?
You know, our motivation started way back in 1988 when our dad, the late George Reed, who's more popularly known as the father of sevens in Fiji, experienced a stroke in the year he turned 60. And seeing what it did to him motivated us to continue the work on prevention. Prevention is the best cure in these cases. And we attribute Counterstroke Fiji to the wisdom of Dr. Chona Senilangakali, Dr. Matthew Salato, and Commander Stan Brown, who'd also experienced the stroke and who witnessed that there was nowhere for survivors of stroke to go. And he also recognized that stroke was becoming more prevalent. And that was, some 30 years ago, but in the older age category. And together with Phil McGowan, who was a physiotherapist from the UK attached to Fiji government, they established Counterstroke Fiji. So when our father had his stroke some months later, as he was going through a recovery process, he knew Dr. Chona, he knew Stan Brown. They called him and said, would you like to join us? So in his wisdom, he said, and I have 2 daughters who can come and help. So that's how we got into being part of Counterstroke Fiji. And given what we witnessed, we firmly believe that we can help. We can help those who experience stroke, but more so, we'd prefer to prevent stroke.
Now, let's talk about the data. In 2025, we had the WHO STEP survey report that has come out and publicized that 98.5% of adults in Fiji are living with at least one non-communicable disease risk factor. When you look at that number, that is quite alarming. That's almost the whole of the population. And we are witnessing that happening. How concerning is that?
It's very concerning, and more so it's sad. Because let's talk straight, It's a non-communicable disease. What does that mean? You can't catch it from anybody else. It's not like the flu where you can breathe the germs and get the flu. This is non-communicable. So it's basically, to put it bluntly, self-inflicted in a way. So when you're talking non-communicable, yes, it is sad, and the statistics are reconfirming. This is the 3rd STEP survey, and the statistics are seeing that it's getting worse. And why is it getting worse? There are many factors that are impacting the lives of our people. And I think this, on Straight Talk, I intend to convey to our people that this is a crisis, that there's an NCD crisis. We talk about there's a drug crisis. There's all the different alcohol crisis, or addiction, say, addiction to drugs, addiction to alcohol, addiction to kava, addiction to smoking. Does anybody talk about addiction to sugar? People forget about the addiction to sugar, and I will say more about that as we talk, because we're talking about this being a lifestyle disease. So it depends on how you manage your life, the status of your health. So the statistics are showing that as a people, we are not managing our lives very, very well. We've got lots of advice, we have people out there, but are we getting it to the majority of the population? But sessions like this and media interventions like this assist in getting the message on prevention and healthier lifestyles to our people. So yes, the statistics are very good in the sense that they are the evidence. They show that we are in a state where things have to be done. We've got to take actions that impact positively in the prevention of the NCDs. And yes, people will have a stroke. Many of them will have a comorbidity. They could have, hypertension leads to a stroke, diabetes, and those issues certainly impact us. But the evidence we have means that we can do something about it. If we take that evidence to heart, it impacts our families, the people we love. We start with those. I think we can make a difference.
Now, normally strokes were associated with elderly people, but now statistics are also showing us people are getting strokes even when they're in their 30s, even 20s. What type of statistics? You said a person as young as 4 has had a stroke.
That's correct. The person who had a stroke at the age of 4 was subjected to trauma. And yes, as we say, 30, 40 years ago, it was the older age category. Now it's the younger age. 4-year-old, there was a 19-year-old. We have a stroke survivor member. She had her stroke at 21 when she was 8 months pregnant with her child. Just last week, we were informed that a 42-year-old discipline services gentleman had a stroke. So it's across the age ranges now.
What's driving the shift?
I believe it's lifestyle. What are people doing with their lives? We advocate for an 8-8-8 day. 8 hours of rest, 8 hours of work, and 8 hours of relaxation. So if you go to work from 8 to 4:30, you go to bed at 10 o'clock, and you wake up at 6, you've had 8 hours of sleep, the body's rested, and in between, you've played your sport, you've engaged with your family, you've attended the village community meetings and whatever. So we advocate for that in order to try and get our lifestyle. Look at the way people are living. When I hear that everybody loves their kava. Kava now is across the board, male and female in indulging in kava drinking. And like everything else, there's the good. But anything that's good, even abused, leads to issues. So the way our lifestyles are, less hours of sleep, more indulgence in things that are inherently good, but abused, and it leads to hypertension, it leads to stroke, leads to diabetes. When you're drinking kava, for example, my dad in his days, they drank kava, and what did they have with it? A cigarette. You only saw that. You did not see all the food that goes with kava these days. Some people drink milk, some people eat stew, some people eat all these sugary items, processed items, whilst they're drinking kava, and for long hours on a very regular basis. It's not like we just have a weekend. We'll drink kava on Friday and Saturday. And I think because it's a little bit more affordable in the sense that it's $5 a bag, or used to be $2 a bag, people can indulge a little bit more. But it's that lifestyle that leads to the situation we're in. And so the younger people are engaging in that. I always say, when we were younger, for the first, say, 20 years of our lives, we ate home-cooked food. We were not go to the restaurant or the fast foods that are available now. Whereas now, a lot of people live on fast foods, and we'll come to discussing the salt, etc.
It is becoming a norm now.
Yes.
And the other issue is about, are people going to the hospital fast enough? Are the detections taking place fast enough? Because you can, as you said, prevention is the best cure here. But in terms of, what are you getting in terms of people arriving? How early are they going to the hospital, or how the hospital is reacting to the situation?
That's a challenge in all areas. You hear about pregnant women arriving, not going through the process. And the same with those who have hypertension. You see in the STEP survey, when they did the survey, obesity is an issue. And when you're obese, 69 in total, 69% of the population is either obese and overweight. You put that together. And many of them did not even know, less than half knew that they were hypertensive also. So when you're looking at that kind of thing, it is difficult to change what you're wanting to do at the time. Huh? And just give me the end of your question.
I was just saying about how quickly are people going to the hospital, or how the hospital is reacting. Is it doing the right things in the first few hours?
Our people don't go to the hospital for regular checkups. That regular checkup is not something that we do as a norm. We only go to the hospital when we're sick. And most times, not at the beginning. People are not showing up early in order to get that prevention, to help them address the issue at an early stage. Huh? They're not turning up. And then we tend to look at the hospital system and say it's not helping. But I know the Ministry of Health people are frustrated too when there's late, they come late in the day and they can't do much. Yeah.
The STEP survey also found that 1 in 3 adults in Fiji have high blood pressure, yet fewer than 1 in 4 have it under control. And hypertension, as you said, is one of the biggest stroke triggers. How much of what you've seen in terms of your work is directly related to uncontrolled high blood pressure?
Well, stemming from the fact that many don't know about it. So in our outreach, we try to alert them to what the symptoms are of high blood pressure. You know, you have headaches and that. So we're trying to make sure that they know what they're experiencing and going and getting attention for that. So that's kind of the way we are working at this point in time.
Because if you don't have your blood pressure, high blood pressure treated, one day that will come back and get you, right?
Yes. And I think the other issues are people are unaware. They only think you just go to the doctor when you need medicine. Some resort to more traditional ways of dealing with health issues, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's always good to go to the hospital to be diagnosed so you know what it is, because there are traditional medicines for certain illnesses, and there are others. So I think those are the main things in that area. Yes.
Salt intake in Fiji is double the recommended level according to the STEP survey, double. For someone watching at home who thinks that's just about food, explain to them how much damage that can do if you doubling your salt intake.
Yes, I think the survey found that it's about 5 grams per day per person. By WHO, ours is 9.7. The danger of that is, in terms of stroke, it leads to hardening of the arteries. And our people will cook food that has natural salt in it, add salt to the food while they're cooking it, and then add more salt when they're actually eating it. If you think about it, at the end of the day, whilst they're putting in salt to enhance the flavor, they're probably killing most of the flavors and you are eating salt. You go to certain restaurants these days that add soy sauce, oyster sauce, hoisin sauce. All of them are very salt-based. So salt adds to the hypertension, because what salt does, besides the hardening of the arteries, it also leads to fluid retention. So when you're retaining fluid in your body, it's putting pressure on your heart and your body to pump out the blood, and therefore that pressure goes to the head and you can have a stroke. I should mention that when we talk about a stroke, we're talking about the equivalent of the motherboard in a computer or laptop. When a motherboard is fried or freezes, what happens to your laptop? It ceases to function. And most times you either have to change the motherboard, but it's a little different when you're having to try and change a brain. It doesn't work like that. And there will always be those impacted who may recover fully. I think 20%, we say the stats, recover fully. 40% will recover partially and need some help, and then the other 40% will need full-time help. So that's where we start to talk about carers and family impact. When these people, most of them now, when we talk about the changing in age, are in their most reproductive years of work, 35 to 55. And that's where we're seeing an increase in the numbers. So yes, that whole salt issue can go as far as that. So we need to be wary of that. When you look at our natural foods, look at the nama and all of that, you don't need to add salt to it. It's got its own natural salt. But our palates have become so used to this salt intake that everything else its natural taste is not there. So yeah.
Addiction is
addiction.
You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. We'll be back after this break.
Every day, thousands of Fijians turn to one place to know what is happening, for the stories that matter, for the moments that bring us together, for the news you trust. Recognized by BBC Media Action Research as one of Fiji's most trusted news sources, that place is Fiji Village. And because Fiji keeps moving, so do we. We've listened to how you read, watch and listen, what you love, what you want more of, and what could simply be easier. And now the wait is over. The new Fiji Village website is now live. Built with you in mind, made smarter, made faster, made for the way you connect with us every day. No more searching for your favorite videos. Watch Now brings everything together in one place, ready when you are. Missed your favorite radio show? Had to listen. Your home for live radio, podcasts and audio content whenever it suits you. Sports fans can now get live scores faster with our new scoreboard feature. Need a story explained? Ask AI is there to help as well. And reading late into the night? Switch on dark mode and scroll in comfort. The same trusted news now with a smarter, easier experience built for you. Fiji Village, your trusted news provider.
You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk, and I'm Vijay Narayan. Our guest tonight is the president of Counterstroke Fiji, Elizabeth Fong, and we're talking about strokes, number of families affected by this, and the dangers that exist with our high risk factors already discussed in the first segment. Elizabeth, you've talked about people as young as in their 20s up to 50s getting strokes. Of course, most of them may be sole breadwinners. The effects it's having on the person and the families?
Yes, it's quite sad to see. Having experienced it, we found it very sad seeing our dad. He was 60. He was very involved in rugby, as mentioned. He was known as the father of sevens. He ran the Maras Club with his team of guys. He worked for Development Bank as the manager agriculture, so he traveled around the country once a month to see everybody. Suddenly, all that came to an end. The impact on him physically was not too bad, but the impact on him psychologically was very, very sad to see. His long-term memory was okay. His short-term memory, no. In the middle of a conversation, he would stop speaking. He could not remember what happened, and that frustrated him. He could not read. He could tell you that the letter was C, the letter was A, and the letter was T. But he couldn't tell you any longer that it was cat. So to see someone like that is hurtful. It hurts. So you try to do things. So that is the impact on families. If you're the sole breadwinner, suddenly, where are you getting your rent? Where are you getting your electricity money? Where are you getting your water money? Here we have many who are in families where one works and one stays home to look after the house and children, either the male or the female these days. But many, being in their most productive years of work, will find it very difficult to regain the independence they had. And this is where we see it from. Suddenly, from being this very independent person, now you're becoming dependent on people for your basic needs, not for the extraordinary needs, your basic needs, your food preparation, the kind of food you eat, maybe dressing, having a shower, going to the loo. All these things are impacted immediately. And many families are unprepared, totally unprepared, have no knowledge. So in Counterstroke, we do outreach. It's a very big part of what we do to stay in this prevention is the cure, to alert people to their lifestyles, like we've said, but also recognizing what a stroke is. We have a word that is FAST, F, looking at the face. If there's a drop in the face, it could mean maybe a palsy disease, but it could mean the person's having a stroke. After that, if you see someone going through that, then you ask them, can you raise your arms? If they can raise their one arm and one arm droops, okay, second message that something is happening. Speech, ask them to say something, say their name. If their speech is slurred, T is time. The time is now, go for medical help. Go to the hospital. Don't go and get massaged. Don't go and pray. Those you can do later. And those you can do as you're going to the hospital, but go to the hospital. So FAST is what World Stroke Organization uses, which we're a member of. You go to the Australia Stroke Foundation, the New Zealand one thing. So the impact back to the individual is psychological, physical, and difficult. So getting them help. So what does it, after we've talked about them, what does it do to the family? As I said, the family is generally totally unprepared. And as a result, we try to push in our outreach for FAST, go do it. Then one of the things we do is we host carers workshops, because inevitably, for most families, it falls on another family member. So that family is trying to struggle with money, struggle to adjust to this person not being what they were, reorganizing the household, and then finding someone to be with them if they need to be with them 24 hours. So we have talk shop for the person who's the survivor. Every week, stroke survivors come to us. We take their bloods. We make sure that our aim then is for them to not have a second stroke. And we take their blood sugars if they have diabetes, and we weigh them. And we have a physiotherapist who takes them through a whole lot of exercises that they can do for the week until the next talk shop. So you've had all that kind of, we've got all that in place. For the carers, we also have a carers workshop. And that's when we use our book, Managing After a Stroke, on how to manage. We take it for granted that you just put on a t-shirt, or you put on a blouse, or you put on your shorts. For them, it's a major exercise, and if you don't do it right, you could hurt them. So, that's the impact. We have to see the impact on the person themselves, the psychological impact, the physical, and then on the family, there's also that impact. And then we have to say to the carers, because I think some of our expectations are that the carer will just do 24/7 care. So now we talk to the carers about them maintaining their lifestyle, and we talk about the food, etc. So there's the impact on the individual, the impact on the family, and then the impact on the carer who's looking after the person. So we're trying to juggle all of these to create, make it a little happier for the individual, but for the family.
And it's a real situation in some of the families, and we know for some of the families, when a person has a stroke, they sometimes are neglected because not enough time or care is provided to the people. One of the issues is rehabilitation. You talked about physiotherapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy. All these are very important. What is the level of service at the moment in our country? We know you're saying this is a crisis point. NCD has reached a crisis, and we can't be saying that we'll have to look at drugs and HIV. Yes, they're important as well, but this is affecting almost the whole country. How accessible are these services?
Okay, we work very closely with the CWM hospital that has a stroke multidisciplinary team. So it's the only public hospital with a stroke multidisciplinary team. There's a group in Lambasa. So we're working with them, and they have some skills, but they're a small number. When you talk about the number of stroke each day, I think 2018, 2019, they reported CWM had 500 a year. Now I'm looking at the statistics, and you're looking at 2 to 3 a day. So it's gone up like almost 100% in terms of the numbers going to CWM. When you go to Lambasa Hospital, last year's the annual, the numbers in the first 5 months of the year were equivalent to the whole previous year. When you come to the support, the physiotherapist, the speech therapist, if you want to look at the numbers per head of population, you're going to say it's almost non-existent. There are groups out there and there are physiotherapists. I only know of one speech therapist in the country, and that one is at Hilton Special School, but he is full-time on that. And if someone needs speech therapy and can get hold of him and he's free, they're very fortunate. But otherwise, in the hospitals, we have Dr. Shrishacharya, who is our patron, who is the head of that stroke unit and one of the few trained doctors in stroke. But if you look, we don't have enough physiotherapists. We have one speech therapist that I'm aware of. If there's another one, then maybe two, but you don't. So the support is lacking. We have the COICA coming in on the rehab center, and that will be great, but that's 5 years down the line. In the meantime, how do we help? The Tamavua Rehabilitation Center is small, so the need far outweighs what is available.
The service is just
Services
overwhelmed.
are not there because of the numbers. And
You're saying that CWM alone is having 2 to 3 cases of stroke a day.
Yes, you can see that. Maybe 1 today, maybe 2 tomorrow, and the next day back to, and next day 3. The admissions, and that's one hospital. So you easily, they say 10% of our population will have experienced stroke.
Then we have another issue, and we talked about comorbidity. We know amputations in Fiji are at an alarming rate, largely connected to diabetes, of course, and cardiovascular diseases. For stroke survivors already dealing with mobility issues, you definitely would know that there are other issues that can complicate things further.
Oh, yes. If you only have hypertension, you can manage that with tablets, with losing weight and that. If you have a comorbidity, so you got a double whammy in that, you really have to change your lifestyle in order to deal with them. When at the CWM hospital, the latest statistics I saw, there's 5 amputations a day from the toe to the below the knee. 5 a day. Think of the impact. Okay, we think of the impact on the individual. Their mobility is greatly affected if you lose half your leg. Think of the impact on the family who have to provide family care. Think of the impact on the nation also. So altogether, the impact is negative, and that means the health system is further stressed to provide that support. So I remind ourselves, these are non-communicable diseases that can be prevented by ourselves. So whilst we often go on about what's there to support us, I think we as the individual has to think about what we've done to ourselves to get us there.
It's all lifestyle related.
It's all lifestyle related. It's, I always say, to put it bluntly, it's what you put in your mouth. For a lot of it, you think of the kava, you think the impact of that, and a sedentary lifestyle. I think the STEP survey showed that 70, we kind of meet some WHO standard in terms of our movement and exercise. That may be so, and that comes out good in the survey, but when you look at the obesity rates at 69%, how effective really is what we say we're doing in terms of exercise? Sedentary. Most people are sedentary. You look at how they use the telephone. You have a family gathering to gather the family, and what do you see? Everybody sitting doing that. But like I said, what you put in your mouth, what you eat. And we advocate for healthy living. When we have counterstroke events, we go for really healthy food. Ota, nama, kokonda, and that. We're not going for the chow mein and the chop suey and the things. We try to live what we preach.
Well, let's talk about the emotional and mental situation for family members. As you said, even for you and your sister, when your dad suffered a stroke, everything changed. And that is a reality for many families now. How important is it, and even down to the families struggling or grappling with who will be the caregiver?
Coping with the physical, if you have to weigh it, coping with the physical, you can do things to make them feel good and they look good. But coping with the mental is hard. They're trying to have a conversation with you. They're trying to engage with the family, and suddenly the conversation breaks. They're frustrated. You get frustrated. So all that emotion is having to be managed on top of your lifestyle and how you're living. We live very communally. So on one side of the coin, when you live communally, there may be a few more hands to help. But dealing with the psychological, we used to sit with Dad and talk. We had to be careful because some issues brought out more emotion than others. We weren't sure, do we talk about the rugby that he can no longer go to, or should we hold back? So you as the family member trying to figure out this, the other person who is the stroke survivor may be wondering why you don't want to talk about certain issues. So it's a whole new learning situation for everyone in the family. It means you've got to sit down and talk through it and roster people. Basically at home, who's going to be home, who's going to do this. And when organizations like Counterstroke Fiji invite carers to a carers workshop, respond. We had one last Saturday, and we got 27 people. And we took them through managing after a stroke. And two of the young girls was their dad, the 42-year-old who'd had a stroke. So getting all that helps the psyche. If you at least have some idea of how to deal with it, it helps you, and it also helps the individual you love. It's usually a family member.
You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. We'll be back after this break.
Bula Fiji villagers, we've had a bit of a glow up, and we know some of you are probably wondering, hey wait, where did the videos go? Don't worry, we didn't hide them. The video section has a brand new name, and it's now called Watch. That means all your favorite videos and shows are now in one place and easier to find. Want your Fiji Village Straight Talk with Vijay Narayan? It's there. Looking for Trending Amo Vengu? It's there too. Latest videos? Yep, all there. Don't miss the Watch section on Fiji Village, your trusted news provider for the latest videos, stories, and shows all in one place. Go and have a look and tell us what you're watching first.
Welcome back. You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan, and our guest tonight is the president of Counterstroke Fiji, Elizabeth Fong, and we're talking about strokes and the impact it's having on the country as a whole, on the families. We know that Counterstroke Fiji has been trying to do its best. What are your main challenges, Elizabeth?
Like most CSOs and NGOs, it's finance. Finance to operate an office, finance to go provide the services we set out to do. We have a strategic plan and we have an action plan, and fulfilling that. So it's finances and personnel on the ground. Apart from the one person whom we pay to keep the office open, the rest of us are volunteers. And we're very grateful. We have an arrangement with the Lumia Academy that trains carers. So they send their people to our weekly talk shop as part of their training, and they learn to take blood pressure, etc., etc. So, but there's not enough. We could do, outreach every day of the week if we had people to help us. So our challenge, like many others, is that we'd love to have a presence in the West and the North. Right now, we don't. We work with NCPD, National Council for Persons with Disabilities. We are located at 3 Brown Street, the NCPD complex, for those of you who wish to contact us. And we also have a Facebook page and a web page. So that is basically what we're aiming to do.
You're largely running on goodwill and determination. How much support do you get from government and private donors?
Okay, government over the years has been forthcoming. Naturally, when it's budget time, you put in a budget for maybe 50,000 and you get 25,000. So you realign yourself. But one of the challenges, and this is something I raised at a budget presentation at NCPD some years ago, is for NGOs and CSOs, the government needs us. We complement. We're not competing with government. We complement what they do. If they could pay for one office staff member and also pay for the auditing of accounts, because for many years you could give in acquittals, full acquittals with evidences, and you would get your money. Then government introduced audit. Now, for government governance purposes, I don't have a problem with that. I think it's good. We need to account for the money through the audited process. However, when we are told by government, we were giving you this much money and you decide whether you're going to use some of it for the auditing or for your services. So most of the times we'll opt to keep that money for our services as opposed to using it for an audit. So that we have submitted our last one with full acquittals, evidences, all that, and we get a note saying all your acquittals are really good. However, you need to audit the account. So we're a bit stuck there. We know that there are organizations that do it FOC as part of their social responsibility, but they run businesses. So they take on some, but you're not the top priority. So that's an impact. We work closely with the Ministry of Health, Wellness Unit, and in August last year, Counterstroke Fiji took a lead role in establishing the Wellness Coalition. It's a coalition of NGOs and CSOs working in the area of wellness. And the secretariat is under Dr. Devina at the Ministry of Health Wellness Unit. That has helped us greatly because everybody's got less resources than they actually need. And so this way, the left hand now knows what the right hand is doing. Before this, we were all doing our own thing, and it's working really well. So we piggyback on each other's activities in order to do our outreach. So that's something the ministry is supporting. The Ministry of Health recognizes that they need other people.
Makes sense. They can't do everything on their own. And the other issue is in relation to your discussions with the Ministry of Health. Say if you were to sit with the Minister for Health, what would be the 3 main things that you would discuss with him that should create a positive impact on what's happening? You know, you have labeled it as a crisis point. What could we do?
One, I think, is screening, making screening more accessible. Our people need to come and identify what their health status is. Provide the health centers and provide the nurses who are mobile, who are moving out with the proper equipment. A blood pressure monitor. That costs, I think, when RUPS was selling it, $65. Everyone should have a functional one. We advocate for families to buy it and keep it at home, so people know their status. When you know your status, it enables you to maybe take the appropriate action. So I would say enhance that screening. The STEP survey showed that people didn't know they had a comorbidity. They did not know they were hypertensive. They did not know they were diabetic. The statistics show that. So it means we've got to do something more at that stage. Secondly, food. I now, it's been quite a few years, look at every label on everything I may want to add to my shopping list. And most times I look at it and I see what the sugar content is and what it shows as carbs and that. And I put it back on the shelf. There's so much being sold that I reckon should not even have been imported. So I would say to the Minister of Health that he pushes to have policies that safeguard our people from the choice of those unhealthy products that don't add. I mean, I'm not saying be dictatorial and say to people, you can't have this, but I think we can do better at seeing what's being imported and putting some no-nos on it. And that also applies to the things people eat when they're drinking grog and that. So my first one is to enhance the screening. My second one is that, and the wellness area of life, the nutritionists going out and advocating for healthy food. Why aren't people buying from the market? We have good markets. I think one of the values the ministry could support is to have more market stalls closer to homes, so people are buying from the stalls as opposed to buying canned items from the closest shop, so they can work together. The Consumer Council, every 2 weeks at Counterstroke, for our stroke survivors, we have speakers. So the Consumer Council came, and our people were really interested. And one of the questions I asked was this: can you put a halt on some of these things or have some say? And basically they said they don't have the power to, but that we should write a letter. So I actually wrote a letter for them to take to the next level. Maybe you take it to some embassies and the importing of items from their countries, that becomes a political, diplomatic thing. But I think if you're protecting the lives of our people and their health status, that they can do that kind of thing.
You need to make some tough decisions.
Yes.
I remember many years ago, a report came out where people who were selling fresh fish, they would go to the supermarket later and buy noodles and tin fish and take it home. So they're selling fresh produce, but going to the supermarkets and buying canned food to take it back to their homes, because that has become the norm. Let's talk about health taxes on unhealthy products. You talked about unhealthy products. You talked also stronger food labeling. Some of the food labeling is in other languages. People don't even know what is in it. Tighter controls on salt content. You talked about that in processed food. Do you support these kinds of measures? And the other thing is, when the taxes are put on unhealthy items, about the collection of that revenue and how it should be spent. What's your thoughts on that?
Oh, for me, if you're collecting taxes in a particular area for a particular purpose, my understanding is you're collecting the taxes to go back into that area to assist with whatever needs it has. I don't believe you should be taking in taxes that impact that we're trying to, working in the health area, and to use it in the energy area. I think that is from where we're sitting as citizens, that's the purpose of the tax. You're taxing that to assist. And I mean, that's what it is, assist the hospitals, assist, like I said, with the screening so that the screening happens. And I think the other issue is when we're talking about this, the taxes, you're taxing across a whole area of all those involved in the food industry or whatever. It means that we have to include other people, this multi-sectoral kind of arrangement and engagement. And I think government tries to do that. When they have meetings on issues like health, you will have the other partners there, but we're always challenged by financial resources. And something I just want to put in here when we're talking about all the government departments and they're coming together, the food that's served at those functions, we need to be talking healthy and living healthy and providing healthy.
Start from the top.
Start from the top. We don't spend $35 per person. We spend $10 and have ota, kokonda, kai, vundi. The vundi is better for the sugar as the ndalo is, but the cassava is not good. Again, back to this sugar addiction, because the carbs turn into sugar.
Even school canteens.
Oh, school canteens are another level. But the Ministry of Education has a policy for school canteens. So in that case, it's the implementation and the monitoring. So I think this monitoring of everything we have in policy is a challenge.
Community awareness. We can talk till the cows come home. We can build all the facilities we want. But if people don't know the signs of a stroke, if they're not getting checked, if they're not wanting to change their lifestyle, what difference does it make?
I think that's our challenge. It's not going to, we are just going to become a more sick society and a sadder society, because those closest to us, I mean, the fact that we can't change makes me wonder. We have changed in other areas. We do a lot of praying as a nation, and the fact that our attitude to that can't change is hard to fathom. But life is a whole complex issue. There's many things coming in. Why aren't people changing? We're educating you. Counterstroke is joining the Ministry of Health. We're going to Naitasiri, we're going to Vunindawa, we're going to Lambasa, we want to go to Mbua. We still haven't done Kandavu, but when we get there, we're getting the message out, and people are. But I think the actual challenges of life on the ground divert things. Maybe we're diverting to the wrong areas. We'd spend money on a kalavata more than we'll go and buy fresh fish, right? Everything now is kalavata. The outfits cost $20, $30, $50. But we have challenges in our cultural thinking. It's like the food issue. We got to have more than we need, not just enough. How about enough for one meal now? Because you're going to have another meal later. We're not eating here for the next 3 days. But that's a cultural thing. And changing cultural mindsets and attitudes is different. And I think that's a big challenge for us, our cultural.
My final question, we have a real issue, as you said, and the STEP survey is showing us the risk factors of NCDs. I always call NCDs lifestyle diseases because they're all lifestyle related. The other issue is we know that strokes are no longer only prevalent amongst the elderly. It's the younger people who are getting strokes. And the real danger is if we do not address this, as you said, we'll have a very sick society. And going into the future, we will have real issues. For people watching out there tonight, what is your message to them if they are struggling with the issue of health, maybe caregiving, but also the lifestyle change that you have been advocating for? What is your message to the young and old out there?
My message is, and because we're a prayerful society, we talk about our bodies being temples of Jesus and the Holy Spirit. I think my message would be reflect on your life. Reflect on what you can do to change. We have a program called Change for Good. It's about someone who had put on a lot of weight and how they came about losing that weight and maintaining it. And I think it's about, we're an educated society. Look at who is graduating, our number of graduates from tertiary institutions. So we don't lack the intellectual capacity to understand. But I do feel that the challenge is reflecting individually on ourselves to protect our bodies and to live lives. We've got enough evidence. Every time we've gone out on outreach, we've asked those that we're sharing preventative information with, 60% of them have known a stroke survivor. But the mentality is, it won't happen to me, but it could happen to you. So my message is, eat local, eat healthy, respect your bodies, change and make the decision to be healthy, remove the stresses from the family or the anticipated stresses if you get sick, and love yourself. If you love yourself, you will take all this into consideration, get yourself checked, and live a healthy and decent life with family for longer than many are living these days.
President of Counterstroke Fiji, Elizabeth Fong, thank you very much for your commitment, your honesty and passion in this area, your driven goals based on what you went through in relation to your dad, and now doing this for the country as a whole. We really appreciate the conversation that you've had, and again, the message from Elizabeth, Get yourself checked. Know your numbers. Know how you're doing as far as your health status is concerned. Don't just go to the doctor when you are feeling sick. Have regular checkups so that you know what is to be done. Encourage your family members as well, because the numbers are staring at us. 98.5% of people in this country are at risk of at least one of the NCDs. And if you can control that, you will be a productive member of the society and also for your family as a whole. That's the show for tonight. Until the next fortnight, have a great evening.